You can drop off, Sindhu. Okay, so in the last class, what did we discuss in the last class? Images, right? So in traditional deployment model, this is what you do. We first clone the repository, right? Then you build the application using mn install. You get the var file, and then we deploy the var file into a VM. Before deploying the var file into VM, what do? You go and then install JDK, Tomcat, all the dependencies, which is time-taking process. So with Docker, we can create the environments very quickly. So using Docker, we can containerize the application by creating the image. So if you want to containerize gamut cart example, for example, right? Say you have to create the image. As we know, our gamut cart requires Ubuntu, JDK, Tomcat, and then we need code. And then we bundle a command which starts Tomcat server. So we create the image, we push it to the remote repository, and then from remote repository, we can pull it and then set up the environment. So assume that I want to set up an environment with 10 containers. So you have to execute Docker run command 10 times. Instead of executing Docker run commands 10 times, what you can do, you can write a small shell script. For example, I have written a small shell script called create environment dot sh. Assume that you want 20 containers in the environment. You just say 20. This particular script will create 20 containers. So clone, build, create the image, push that image to the Docker hub, then just trigger this shell script that will create the environment for us. So let me explain that shell script today. So I'm, automating the things for you. Go to source. I don't have anything yet. Git clone. Clone your gamut cart. Gamut cart 2.git. What's wrong with it? Git clone gamut cart 2.git. So that's how you build, and as a DevOps, creating an environment is our responsibility, right? So this is how we do it. And when install ls target, var file is there. Then I trigger this Docker file that will create the image for me. Docker build -t image name / gamut cart -image space dot. Image is created. Okay. Docker images. Then we push this image to the Docker hub. Docker push on the image name. You're pushing the image to Docker hub. Once you push that image to the Docker hub, then let me show you the containers that you have. Let me remove all this. Remember, I don't have any containers here. Okay. So once image is pushed to the Docker hub, then see I'm triggering this script. Create env.sh. Assume that I want 10 containers. I'll just set 10. Creating 10 containers. Creating Tomcat server 1 container. Tomcat server 1 has been created. Creating Tomcat server 2, 3, 9, 9 has been created. Creating 10, 10 has been created. Let me open another tab. Docker PS. List all running containers. See how quickly I'm able to create 10 containers. You can hit any of these containers now. Okay. So that's a idea, right? So when a request comes to the load balancer, it may give that request to any of these containers, correct? To this, or this. So all containers should be ready to serve the application. That means you have a container, okay? With Ubuntu, JDK is there, Tomcat is there, code is there, and then Tomcat server is running. This is another, application server, your Gamut Cat application server. JDK is there, Tomcat, Warfare, and then Tomcat server is running. So no matter which container receives the request, you are able to, that container is able to serve the request. Let's hit any one of these servers. Okay. Let me list the IP addresses of these servers. Docker inspect. Docker inspect gives you a lot of information about a container, right? You know that? Docker inspect is giving you these, this much of information. Any information that you want about a container, use inspect. I am interested in this particular IP address. Okay. How do you print this IP address? Can somebody tell me? Did I show you printing this?
Is it like hostname minus I?
That is it. If you are in the container, if you are in the host, you are in the host now. Okay. And, you're in the host, you know the IP address. If you want to see more information about a container, use this inspect command. So inspect command is giving you this output. So if you want to get the value of any key, if you see this information is organized in as key value pairs. Gateway, gateway, IP address, IP address. So A:B, everything is structured. So if you want to assume that I want to print an IP address, I want to print IP address. That means I want to print this value. If you want to do that, follow this trick, okay? 2 floor brackets open, 2 floor brackets close. 2 open, 2 close. This is the syntax. IP address. I want to print the value of that, right? IP address. If you see, everything is structured here. IP address is under bridge. Bridge is under networks. Networks is under network settings. You see that indentation? So it is following like a tree structure. So IP address, okay. IP address is under bridge. You have to give that path, okay? The tree path, bridge. And you have to separate each and every key with dot. Bridge. Bridge is under networks. Dot separator. Networks is under network settings, and this is the top level key. Networks is under network settings. It has to start with that. Okay. 2 floor brackets open, 2 floor brackets close. Okay. Assume that you want to print the value of this alias, before that bridge, before that networks, before that network settings. So likewise, you can print any value. Docker inspect -f, okay, format. I want you to print something in this particular format. See, you're able to, so if you give like this, what it will do? It will go to network settings first. Then it will go to network setting, then networks, bridge, IP address. Then it goes to networks, bridge, IP address. Okay. So that's how you print the value of any key. But why I'm showing this to you now? I want to print IP address of all this. You know how to print the IP address of one container, right? If you want to print for all, guess what you're going to hear?
You have to give the all container names there.
Container IDs, fetching the container IDs is very difficult, right? So what we do? Sorry, container names is very difficult. So
Yeah,
container
container ID minus Q.
yes, exactly. Dollar, we know this script, right? Everybody. Docker PS -A -Q. That will give that list all IDs. So inspect command, this command will be executed on the first ID, second ID, third ID, and so on. So that's how you are printing or your container IPs. Okay, so
Sir, here one question. So every time the structure will be same or it will be different for getting that IP or any of the.
this will be
IP?
same. This is same always.
Okay.
So clone, build the application, build the image, push that image to the Docker Hub, then pull the image from the Docker Hub, and then create an environment. So I have a script called create environment.sh. If I want 10, I just say 10. It is creating 10 containers for me. It is creating 10 containers. And these are 10 container IPs. These are 10 container IPs. Okay. Now you hit any of these containers, okay? Assume that net request comes to this, or this, okay? So all these containers are ready to serve the application. For example, assume that request is going to this particular container, okay? Say this container, for example. Your Gamma Cat application is running there. You want to see that? 9. Colon 8080 slash Gamma Cat. Application is running. Assume that it gives the request to 08, for example. 08. Application is running. 010 or say 3. Application is running. So 10 containers. Did you set up your application, and did you install the prerequisites manually in each and every container? No. Now you see how quickly you can create 10, 20, or 30, 100 containers for your production. Within a few seconds or minutes, your environment is ready. That's the beauty of containerizing your application. Clear with this?
Sir, actually, I'm having a doubt. Like yesterday, like we have run this MVN install and to create this var file, right? So that was run under host only, right? So we didn't execute that inside a Docker, container. So I mean, like if we are containerizing our application, we should be also running that build thing inside a container, right? Then we have to copy from that
Why you
the
want
container.
to why you want to run build in the container?
I mean, like if we are automating that, like
No, so
we should be running, yeah.
What is the end goal of build? Emir install command. End goal of Emir install is what? Code, correct? Var file, right?
Yes.
And we need only var file here, right? In the Tomcat server. Tomcat server. So once var file is generated, then we just forget about this build mission. So why you want to run this Emir install command here in the container? This is your container. Why you want to
I
run
mean, like we will I mean, like we will be having like more build commands, right? Like if we are automating the task, so continuously we'll be having some push and all in the GitHub. So continuously we'll be having build.
See
So
here,
at that time, like yeah,
two things. One is the build server. There are two things. You first develop the application, then you build the application, and then you run the application. Correct? So we are running the application here, right?
yes,
For the container, this mission is for running the application, not for the building. So build is what you take the junk from your GitHub, right? You may be having n number of things in GitHub, right? During build, what we do, whatever is required for application to run, we just separate it. We separate it. That's called build, correct?
yes.
So build artifacts, build code only, you go and then push it in the your servers. So build is separate, and then running your application is separate. So we before you run the application, we build it first. So both are separate. We don't do perform build activities in the production server. No, where application is running. This is where this is for application to run, and this is for build. Both are different. We don't do the build things in the production.
Okay.
You would
So
have seen,
here,
you would have seen something. Have you seen something, Krishna? You see, again, situation may be different. So I want to take your situation and then explain. Go ahead, sir.
no, sir. I mean, like, so here what you're doing is like you're actually building the code in the host itself, and there you are creating the containers for the production, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yeah, correct. So I'm building the application and then bundling that application built code
In the
in
same server.
yeah, and then
But like in the real life scenario, like it should not be like that, right? So we'll be having a separate server for building, or like the
yeah,
same
we'll be
only.
having separate servers for build.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
You should not build anything in the production server. Production service that is for running your application, not for building. So build mission is different. Mission where you run your application is different.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
So like in this case, like you're actually the production server, what we are referring to is the host which you are creating the containers, right?
This one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you have 10 containers, right? This 10
Yeah.
containers you maybe creating on some host, right? Or some on some cluster. This is production.
Okay, sir.
Sir, I have a question from Docker file.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, there I got the command endpoint, entry point. There we have given the address of startup.sh. Sir, why we write at last end base, sir?
I haven't explained that logic. I'll do that today. You'll understand. Just wait for some time. I'll come to that.
Yeah, I have one doubt. So suppose we are creating a 10 containers, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And all the containers will be having a different IP. Suppose it's a production server and users are using a domain, like they're using the domain name and they're trying to access it. Is there any way to, like after 10 container is created and we can change at once all the domain name for all the containers?
So individual users are not using the IP address of all these containers, first of all, right, Ashish?
Correct. Yeah.
So what endpoint we're exposing to the users? That's a load balancer endpoint. See this, everybody. So I have 10 containers in my environment. Okay, 10 containers have their own IPs, correct? Some IPs. Then we'll create a load balancer. Think that it's a mission. It's a separate mission, load balancer mission. Everybody. So this is a separate mission. Okay, think it as a mission. Here I go and then install load balancer software. Citrix load balancer, for example. So it is that software which is when say 100 users are typing the URL, all 100 requests comes to this load balancer, correct, everybody? So what is this software doing, load balancing software here? This software job is to distribute different requests to different machines. That means you have 10 machines or 100 machines serving, processing 100 users or 1 lakh users requests. That's load balancer software. Okay.
So yeah, like like domain name will be configured for that load balancer.
Yes, correct. So this particular load balancer will have something called VIP. We call that as virtual IP. Virtual IP. For example, this is 10.4.4.20.10, something like that. It is this particular IP which users use, 10.4.4.20.10 colon 8080, for example. Okay, so this is the IP users use, or domain name. You just map it to, for example, gammatcard.com. Gammatcard.com means this IP. You can map an IP address to a domain name, and people use gammatcard.com. So when they say gammatcard.com, it will come to this mission. This domain name will be resolved to the IP address, right? That means you are hitting load balancer IP. Okay, you cannot give numbers
Yeah,
like this to the
server's IP will not be exposed to user, right?
Yes. So you cannot, you can expose, right? But thing is, we don't expose because we don't want our customers type, numbers, right? They want, what if Flipkart gives numbers to us instead of saying flipkart.com, right? We don't do that. So
Yeah, okay.
anyway, it will be resolved. You can see Google's IP address also.
Okay.
See this? Ping google.com. So this is google.com's IP address. This IP address is mapped to google.com. So everybody, you understand this VIP concept now? So load balancer will be having an IP address. We give that IP address or mapped a URL to the customer. We are calling this as VIP, virtual IP. Means when users type this particular IP in the browser, it is coming to this load balancer, right? VIP. Why we call it as a virtual IP? Because under this VIP, you have 10 IPs, correct? That means 10 IPs are binded to this particular virtual IP. So that's the reason you're calling it virtual IP. So you're not giving 10 IPs to the users. No, it is only one IP you're giving. That one IP is acting as 10 IPs for you, correct? That means it is giving the request to, if somebody sends request to this particular IP, it is giving that request to 10 IPs, correct? Virtual IP. That is, representing 10 missions. If you have 100 missions under that, load balancer, it will represent 100 IPs. So we call it a VIP. So we'll be giving only load balancer IP. Okay, VIP or that domain name to the users, not individual containers or missions. For that matter, it can be VM container, it can be anything.
It will be good for privacy purpose also. Load balancer.
You can configure, you can configure security things for this. There are different ways to it, but here the main point is load balancer concept, right? We cannot say, hello customer, say India region use this IP, right? US use this IP, for example. Person 1, you use this, person 2 use this. We cannot give multiple IPs, right? For all users, we have to give one domain name, right? One IP. So that is the purpose of load balancer here. Ashish, any follow-up question on this?
No, yeah, got it. And one more question is there. When do you require like if is this done by DevOps teams, like setting up Java environmental variables, and when it is required?
For Java installation, we use, we have to set up the environment variable. If you're installing it manually, if you are downloading tar.gz and then installing JDK manually, that time you have to give environment variable. Ashish, it's a separate question. Okay, let's not miss that here. Just remind me later. I'll explain that clearly to you why we
Yes.
do that environment variable setup. What is an environment variable? Why we have to set it up and things like that.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so everybody, so we are able to create 10 containers or 20 containers with our automation script now. That is create env.sh. Interview question. Can you explain your application containerization process? Clone, build, create image, and push the image to the Docker Hub. Then say, we have a script called create environment.sh. If I give 10, it will get 10 containers for me. And then comes my network engineering team. I give all these 10 IPs to my network engineering team. My network engineering team set up the load balancer for us. That's how our application works. Right. So this is how you are creating 10 containers. You want to understand this shell script, right? Shall I explain that? Say this. Say VIM create env.sh. Okay. Okay. So create env.sh 10. Anybody can trigger my script. So you have to first read this value, right? So if you want to create, how do you know how many number of containers you want to create? You have to read this number. How do you read this number, from the shell script? We say $1. Okay, before this, any shell script should start with a line called shebang line. SHEBANG, shebang. This is hash, right? Hash symbol, no? First one. Was it hash symbol, right? SH. That exclamatory is called as bang symbol. Bang symbol. SH bang, shebang. We call it as shebang line. Why shell script has to start with that question, right? So this is the interpreter. Okay, that means we have different shells, right? Bash, CSH, KSH, SH, and things like that. What syntax you are following? I'm following bash syntax here. So I need bash interpreter to execute all my commands. So if you say bash, Linux will use bash to execute all this. For example, I'm creating a variable here, a is equal to 10. If it is a C shell, I say set a space 10. That's a C shell syntax. So in that case, I have to have C shell here because I'm following C shell syntax. So bash is an interpreter, right, which is going to execute this. I'm following bash syntax here. It's a bash shell scripting. Done. So this is the executor. Okay, now I want to read the arguments passed by the user. So this is called as $1. Assume that you're passing another value to this particular shell script. That will become $2, $3, $4, and so on. So that's how you read the input from the user in shell scripting. $1. So $1 means 10. If user is giving 100 here, I'll get 100 here. $1. I'm assigning that dollar because I cannot use $1 here. That doesn't look good. Okay. So I'm assigning that $1 is 10, right? 10 will come in this case. If user is giving 100, you get 100 here. So I'm assigning that a variable container count. So container count has 10 in this case. What is the value of my container count? 10, whatever user is giving. 10. Creating 10 containers. If you want to print the value of a variable, prefix that with $. That's how you get the value of a variable in Linux. This is the variable container count. I'm getting the value of that variable. Creating 10 containers. Creating 10 containers. See, it is my wish. If you are writing this particular shell script, it's your preference, it's your wish. So when I'm developing something, right, user is asking me to create 10 containers. I have to tell user, right, okay, you have requested for 10 and I'm going to create 10. You don't want make your user bored, right? So you have to show the progress of your program. So that is I'm printing something. If you are writing, you print in your own way. I am writing, I print in my own way. Okay, it is just that. So I want to confirm user back saying, okay, you asked for 10 and then I'm going to create 10 containers. Then it will come here. This is not required, okay? Just to make the output, just to show you the output slowly, I added this sleep statement. Sleep 2 means it will wait for 2 seconds before it goes to the next instruction, next line. Sleep 2, it will wait for the 2 seconds. In production, real time, it is not required. Okay. Then I have for loop, simple for loop. Nothing great about this code. It's a very simple one. Simple for loop is there. So what is the goal here? If somebody says 10, I have to execute docker run command 10 times so that it will get 10 containers, correct? So if you want to repeatedly, execute something in any programming language, what is that language construct we use? For loop. For loop, we got the loop, right? So for loop can repeatedly execute something. So I say, this is the for loop syntax in shell. You have to remember for I in, and this is a list. It's a list. You want to see what is the value of this? Container count is what? 10. If user is giving 100, it will become 100, correct? It is like this, sequence and then 10 in this case. Sequence 10. Sequence 10. See what sequence command is doing? It is just expanding given number. 100, right? Whatever. 1000, something like that. Just expand that. Okay. So here you get 1, 2, 3, 10. So this is equal to 1, 2, 3, 10. 1, 2, 3, up to 10. Okay. For I in list. For loop will take the first item in the list. First item is 1. It will take 1. It will assign that to I. So I value will become 1. I value will become 1. With I is equal to 1, it will go and then execute this block. Do is like a open floor bracket, and this is like closed floor bracket. In shell scripting, it is do done. Okay. If you know for loop in any programming, you understand this very easily. You want me to explain for loop also? For I in, okay, there's a list 1, 2, 3, 4, and things like that. You call this a list. What that? List. This is called as temporary variable. Temporary variable. So open bracket, close bracket. You have some code here. So what it will do, it will first take I value as 1. It will take first item in the list. It will assign to it. List means collection of items. I value is equal to 1. It will go on and execute this code. Let's see. I value becomes 1. Why we call, okay, I value is 1 and then it will come here. Printing echo. It is printing this. And then it is creating Tomcat server $I. What is the value of I? 1, right? So creating Tomcat server 1 container. Creating Tomcat server 1 container. Then this is not required, okay? Just to show the output slowly, I added this. Then it comes here. This is the actual command which is creating the container. Docker run -it name Tomcat server 1 and then image. So this image will be automatically pulled from Docker Hub. Why I'm giving Docker D here? Sorry, -d, because I just want to create the container and then make it running, right? I don't want the terminal, right? So if you want to create a container in the detached mode, we use -d. So basically it is creating a container and then it says Tomcat server 1 container has been created, and then this Tomcat server 1 container has been created. Decoration is done. Will it go to the next line? No, it will not go to the next line because it's a for loop, right? Until it finishes, assume that you have after this do done, close bracket, you have some lines, say for example. So with I is equal to 1, it executed the code, right? It will not go to the next line. It will go back. Now it will pick another value from the list. Now I value will become 2. With the 2, it will enter into the block and it will execute the code. Again, it will take 3, 4. That means if you have 10 items, 10 times it will execute this code block. Now I value will become 2. Again, one more line. Okay. This one. Then creating Tomcat server 2 container. Now $i means value of I, right? Well, what is value of I? 2. So why we call it as a temporary variable? Do you understand now? Each time it will be having a different, value from the list. That's the reason we call it a temporary variable. It will temporarily get, 1 first, then second, third, fourth, and so on. Now you tell me why I am appending, okay, $i here. Why I am giving $i? Why can't I just give Tomcat container name as Tomcat server? Why $i is required?
To know the count.
No, for
To name the server.
different name, there should be different name.
Correct. So it should be unique, right? Correct. So for example, first time it will come and then create the container called Tomcat server. If I give only Tomcat server. Second time it will come and then again it will run this command, right? Second time, again if it is just Tomcat server, it will fail because it says Tomcat name, a container with name Tomcat server is already there. So 2 containers cannot have the same name. So just to make the container name unique, I'm appending that $i because $i anyway is getting unique value each time. So Tomcat server 2, second container is created. Again, it will come. It will take I value as 3. And again, it will repeat this. It will say Tomcat server 3 container is creating. Then third time it will execute Docker run command. This will create third container with name Tomcat server 3 and so on. Likewise, if user gives 100 here, 100, so container count will be 100, right? So here you will get 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 100, and then 100 times this code will be executed, and this containers, this creates 100 containers for us. See, that's how I am creating, multiple containers at once. Somebody asked this question long back. I told I have a script and then I'll show that to you later. Okay, so we are creating containers. We are able to create multiple containers. So once containers are created, then what's next? Load balancer, right? And if you want to set up the load balancer, you need IP address of all this. See how I'm getting the IP address. Same thing, docker inspect -f or -f format. I just explained this command, right? So $bracket or this backtick symbol is also fine. Both are equal. You can put this in $bracket or this backtick symbol. It's not a single quote, remember. Backtick is usually below escape key. Okay. So what I'm doing here, I'm printing all IP addresses and then putting them in a text file. If you want to redirect the output of a command to a file in Linux, we use a redirect symbol greater than. So this, it will take the output of this command. That output will be stored in this particular file called ips.txt. So why I'm moving all IPs to the text file? So here, assume that now I created 10 containers. Okay. Then I have to, send one email to the network team saying, hello, networking team, these are 10 IPs. Please create a load balancer for us. There is a manual intervention, right? So, what do? They take IPs and then they add it to the load balancer. For example, they do something like this: LB load balancer hyphen attach 172.17.022, this particular virtual IP. Okay, 10.4.4.2.10 are the domain name. Again, load balancer hyphen A, another IP address, this IP address to this load balancer endpoint. So likewise, they add all these IPs to this load balancer. So they need IP addresses for adding servers to the load balancer. 1 second.
Sir, what this greater than symbol call here?
Come again, Laukik.
So what is the what is this greater than symbol call here exactly, sir? You said something
A redirection symbol.
redirection symbol. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
No problem. I call it as redirection symbol. I don't know. I would have studied maybe some years back. Let me check if I am correct. Okay, yeah, we can call it the redirection symbol. That's fine. I'm getting the search. Since you're very particular, I wanted to check it. Fine, leave it. So my plan is this, okay? So for example, I'm sending, I sent email to the network engineering team saying, these are the IPs, add to the load balancer. My manager comes to me saying, why are you waiting? Why the environment is not up and running? Testing team is calling me. They're waiting for the environment so that they can start their testing. I say, our job is done, boss, right? I have sent the emails to, IPs to the network engineering team, waiting for them to create the load balancer. Manager says, why can't you automate it? Then how do you automate? This is what I'm doing. I'm redirecting all the IPs to this ips.txt. Then I tell this network engineering team, I ask them to create a script, probably. Again, another shell script. Okay. This is their shell script. Setup load balancer. lb.sh and then ips.txt. That's all. So I kept all the IPs, right? That's our job, say, for example. So what is their script doing? Their script is reading each and every IP from this text file and then adding those IPs to the load balancer. Who writes this script? Network engineering team. So once our job is done, wait, we are just calling their script and then their script will set up the load balancer. I'm not setting up the load balancer now because setting up load balancer in on-premise is, not a small job. That's a separate, there's a separate team for that, right? Networking team. We are not networking engineers. So, but we'll do that setup in Kubernetes later. Okay. So that's how you create the environment using Docker. Clear all the steps?
Sir, are
I
we
have one
actually
doubt. Okay, go on.
Okay, so like, sir, do we actually manually run the script on the production, or do we have any third-party tools or something to trigger this script?
We put all these commands in Jenkins, all these five
Okay.
steps.
Okay, sir. So previously I have asked you about that build server, right? So you told me like we will be having separate build server. So in that case, like we'll be having, let's say like we are taking for 1 year in our organization, we'll be having multiple build and we'll be having multiple war files. So in that case, like how will we managing these war files? Like as you told before, like we are not creating any containers for any single build. So it should be done without a container. We'll be directly building it on a virtual machine. So how we will be managing this kind of huge set of war files? Let's say in case sometimes we might be needing to roll back to the older version or something of the app. So at that time, like how we will be doing those stuffs.
Remember, Vishnu, in Maven class, I mentioned something called Nexus repository, private repository. Remember,
Yes.
anyone recall? So we are doing MN install here, right? We get the war file, right? Today's war file. Say today I did the build and I got the war file, right? Then if that is the case, right? If you want to maintain that, we can upload, those war files to Nexus repository. This is the binary repository. Nexus repository, or you call it as a binary repository or private repository. We have central repository, private repository.
Yes, sir.
That time I told I'm not going
Yes,
to
sir.
right
Yes, sir.
explain how to
Yep.
set up this Nexus private repository. So this is where we store the var files. For example, var file is created today. I say gamut cart hyphen timestamp. Okay, timestamp dot var file. Tomorrow again you take the new code, again you build the var file, again you say gamut cart hyphen timestamp, or you can give some number for each and every build number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dot var file. So that's how you store multiple var files in Nexus. Assume that this is latest and then you have deployed this, right? You want to roll back, you still have the previous one. So we store multiple var files, right, in Nexus private repository. Nexus is for binaries.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. And anyway, every time, we create a new, say today, I clone the code, I have the, today's code, and say the other stuff in the image is same, say for example, I push it. Again, evening, there is some new code, okay? Again, people ask me to push this new code. Again, what do? I take the code. Again, there is a new code here. What is changing every day in the image? Code. And then I push this image to the Docker app, and then I create this container from the new image. New image, new code. New image, new code. So, and multiple images, you can also have multiple images. Gamut cart hyphen image :1, right? :2, third build, :3, :4, and so on. So in that case, you can give version for our image. Image version also you can do. Yeah, Rana, you have a question?
Yeah, that ID he covered. So I got it. And second one is if suppose that script got failed, where we can check that one?
It will show the error here itself if it fails. If it fails here, right, it will show the error here only, in this output only. For example,
Okay.
say you give a wrong, image, for example, Docker run -it name. Okay. Say for example, you give some image, something like this, and then that image is not available. So what happens at the time of creating the container? It will tell you that this image is not there. So you will see that error here only.
Okay. Line by line debugging, it is not possible, right, in that script.
Sorry, Arna?
Line by line debugging. How it is executing, it is not possible, right, here.
You can do that, Arna. In shell scripting, if you want to run a shell script in a debug mode, you can do that.
Okay, the separate IDE we need to use for that.
IDE, anyway, it's very easy. In IDEs, debugging is very easy. You just set the debug point and then do that. And yeah, IDE, anyway, it's possible. Okay, and it's very easy.
Yeah, here
Also do
how,
that.
here
can also-
how.
You can also run a command in a debug mode from the command line. So I think we have to use -x option. -x. The most common is to start up the subshell with -x option. Hyphen just add -x at the end. Let me remove all these containers. Docker rm -f. Since there are no errors, it is not showing anything, Maruna.
Oh,
Otherwise, if there are any errors, it will
it
show
will
you.
stop there.
It will
Okay,
start there
okay.
and it will give you a debug level message.
Yeah. Okay.
But -x is the option. Okay.
Can we make this type of script for previous commands like ambient install and git?
Sorry, come again. Come again.
Can we write this type of scripts for previous command like ambient install and git things?
I did not get you.
Uh, before this, before we are making images, we use ambient install and git pull, this kind of things. Can we write those in a script for daily use?
You want to, instead of executing all those commands one by one, you want to put all those things in a script, right?
Yes,
That's
sir.
your-
Yes, sir.
Yes, you can do that. But you don't need to do it because there's a Jenkins logic. So in Jenkins, this is what we are going to do, right?
Oh,
So we have clone, right? Clone command, then mvn install command, then docker build command, which will build the image, then push command, then environment creation, create a env.sh, set 10. So all those steps are in a project
okay.
in Jenkins. So, and you just need to click one button there that will automatically execute the first step, second step, third step, and then environment is created, and then it will also send the email. You can configure the email also. So we'll do that in Jenkins. If Jenkins is not doing something, yes, your idea is right. You can write a shell script for that. But Jenkins can do much better things in a better way. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Sir, this is a scale shift command. All are keeping in that Docker file. Or is there any? I heard something .yml file. So what is use of that one?
YAML file is comes in Ansible and Kubernetes.
So this is also same process. Now you keep all your commands in that.
Because Kubernetes understands YAML, so we have to write in YAML. For example, Maven understands XML, so we write in XML format. So YAML has a different syntax, XML has different, shell scripting is different,
Okay.
syntax is different.
Okay, so here all those commands will keep in docker file, na?
Docker file, correct? Docker file. Docker file, all commands we keep in Docker file. What are those commands? Commands which we use to create the image. So this image is created, using Docker file. So in the Docker file, we have all the Docker instructions. So using this, based on these instructions only, it will create the image. That means it will come to know what needs to be kept in image.
Okay.
Okay. See this.
If MySQL server is required, they ask for MySQL server. It will be same installation procedure. Will be same.
What's that come again?
If they ask for if they say that we need MySQL also there, MySQL server, then in Docker file the installation procedure will be same.
Yes. So you have to, if you want to have MySQL server, for example, create a Docker file. From the Docker file, you create the image. So whatever is required in your MySQL server, keep everything in that image and create the container. You get the container with the MySQL server installed in it. Same.
apt get install MySQL.
Yes. Okay. Okay, I have few miscellaneous topics. Let me complete them, then I'll take your questions. So where is that notes? Okay. So let's see that. Let's discuss about the entry point. Okay. So in this Docker file, right? So I have entry point, right? What is the difference between entry point and run? That's a very popular interview question. So what's happening here? Earlier we kept entry point. We kept entry point. Sorry, earlier we kept run here. How is it? How is it working? So whatever commands are in Docker file, it will execute all of them in the container, right? And then it will convert that container as image. It will remove the container. We know that, correct? So if you say run, it's a build time command. Remember, run is a build time command. Means what? At the time of building the image, it is executed, correct? Isn't it? So run apt get updated. It is at the time of Docker build -t, we give the image name, right? So at the time of building the image, run executes. Run instruction executes at the time of building the image. So run is a build time command. Okay. So as per the expectation, Docker is working here, no issues. Say you're asking it to execute startup.sh. This will start Tomcat server, right? Root Apache Tomcat bin startup.sh. This will start Tomcat server. So it is starting Tomcat server here. Yes, it works. It is working. But when this container gets converted as image, right? Actual problem is starting. What is that? Since it's the container, you are able to run something because it's a mission. You have RAM, CPU. There is an execution environment there, right? Processor, RAM. So you have execution environment. So things can run there. Things are running. But here it's a zip file, right? It's a zip file. So what's happening here? So when this container gets converted as image, right? You cannot store something running in the image. It's like a zip file. You can only store the things. So that is the reason this particular server run is not captured in the image. And if you are creating the container from that image, in the container, Tomcat server is not running. That is the problem there. So that's the reason. Instead of run, here we use something called entry point. Entry point. We say entry point is runtime command. Run instruction is build time command. Entry point is runtime command. Means what? It will execute all these things in the container, but it will not execute entry point here. No, it will not execute because there is no use, right? Correct. So if you give something with entry point, this command will not be executed in the container. No, because that's not a runtime. That's not a build time command. So entry point is runtime command, meaning whatever command you are giving here, that will be directly kept in the image. So there is a command here. So in the image, I need Ubuntu, JDK, Tomcat, right, var file, and then command which starts, Tomcat. So I'm bundling the command itself. So your image has a command, and you know what? This command will be automatically executed when you create a container from it. Simple. This is the image, right? So from the image, I'm creating the container, say. So it'll bring Ubuntu in the container, JDK, Tomcat, blah. There is a command right here. So it'll execute that command. So once the container is created, Docker will automatically execute this command for us. And where you are running this command? You're running this command in the container, right? If you run that command in the container, it will work because it's a container. It's a runtime environment. You can run things there. So we say entry point is runtime command. Run is build time command. So instead of run, here you have to give entry point. See this? Docker build -t, okay, image name, luggage weekend / gamut cart -image space dot. I'm creating the container. Docker run -it -f name Tomcat, for example. My image name / dash. Now, in this image, we have entry point, right? In this image, what is there? There is entry point. See, once the container is created, that entry point command is called automatically. And it says Tomcat server started. Where you are running starting Tomcat server inside the container. So that's how it works. Entry point. Clear with that? Any questions here so far?
Can we write multiple entry point commands? Multiple commands in entry point?
You can have multiple entry point. It won't throw the error, but it will take only the last one. Whatever entry point you have at the end, that will be executed, not all entry points. So literally you can say that, okay, one entry point will work. If you have multiple, it will take the last one, latest one, last one. Okay.
Yes, sir. So, and what is this? Why this n base is used?
Yes. Coming to that. Okay, see this Docker file, right? I'll remove something at the end. This should work, right? So let me build the image with this. Remember that bash is not there. Okay, I'm getting new image. Okay, opening new terminal. Let's create a container now. Docker ps, sorry, docker run -it -name tomcat 3, for example, image name /bin/bash. What's happening here? Docker ps -e. So we have created Tomcat server 3. Tomcat 3. So what's happening here? Container is created. Container is created, but is it running? See, it is going in exited mode. So there is a problem here. What is the problem? Container is created, but it is not running. Why is it not running? Remember one thing. If shell is not running in a container will automatically go down. If a shell is not running in a container will automatically go down. Remember the statement. Okay. Come here. So entry point, you're starting Tomcat server, but you're not starting shell. A shell is not running in this container. That's the reason it is going down. But we are giving shell here, right? Correct? Docker run -it name Tomcat server 3 image name. And then once the container is created, I'm starting a shell in that. Once the container is created, I'm running this /bin/bash command there. That means bash is running. So I'm running bash, but why is it going down? Because if you have entry point in your image, this will be ignored. /bin/bash will be ignored. Instead of /bin/bash here, it will execute this command. This one. Very simple. If a shell is not running in a container will go down automatically. Statement number 1. Okay. If you have entry point in the image, this will be ignored. Because entry point you are giving, right? You are giving the command like this. So that means this will come there. In that /bin/bash place, right? This will come. Entry point will come. So once the container is created from the image, whatever entry point you have in that image, that will be executed like this. It is equal to this. So, and do you have shell here? Are you starting shell here? No, you're not starting shell here. So that's when it is going down. So I am creating the container. This particular image has entry point. If the entry point is there, then this won't be executed. Instead, entry point command will come here. That means it will become equal to this, and it is running this. That means literally you are running this there. And there is no shell. Since there's no shell, it is going down. So what I'm doing here, ampersand, I'll say bash. So what happens now? So it will become equal to this. Docker run -it, right? Whatever entry point command you have in the image, that will come here. So what I'm doing here, I'm executing startup.sh. Tomcat server is started. I'm starting bash also. Ampersand, using ampersand, you can run 2 commands. That's a Linux thing, okay? ls ampersand pwd. This is ls command output. This is pwd command output. Likewise, you can run multiple commands. Ampersand. Say what else? What do you want to run? Echo hello. So ls command output, pwd, echo. So if you want to run multiple commands, we use ampersand. So I'm running this, I'm running this. So docker run -it, right? Image name, it'll create the container. Once the container is created, it'll execute entry point command. Okay. So I'm in startup data sh and then bash. Since bash is there, container will automatically run. So what I'll do here, now I have bash there, for example. Okay. That's a new Docker file. I'm building the image again. Now you create the container. Docker run -id -name /20 image name. Okay. So you don't need to give this /bin/bash here because there is a entry point command here, right? So that will be executed. So this is not required. Even though you give, it will be overridden. So now container is running. It should say Tomcat server is running, right? Where is that? PSFNEF for Tomcat. I'm building it again. Okay. Read the container. Docker run -it 21, say for example, Nagesh weekend / gamut cart -image. It's not working. Okay, that's because we are not building image from scratch. Okay, there is some change, right? I'll say it is taking things from cache. I'll explain this today. So now, okay, I'm building the image again with entry point and then /bash. NAG such weekend gamut cart -image. Perfect. Basically, this is not taking it. It's not coming. NAGESH weekend gamut cart -image.
sure, in step 5, it is using run command, run instruction.
Here, there is something wrong.
Yes, there in step 5, it is showing run instruction.
Step 5.
Yes, 5 of 5. Yes.
This.
Step 5 of 5.
Mhm.
It is showing run service engine. Another script.
Why it is? Oh shit. Okay. Sorry about that. I'm building this image. Okay. This Docker. I'm building different Docker file. So here, you see the Docker file here. This is not the Docker file. We have to execute this Docker file. This one, wherever we have in source. Oh my god. This is what happens sometimes. Okay, see this. When you said 5 out of 5, fifth instruction, then I came to see that instructions. It is building different Docker file. Okay, this one. Now it should work. Let's see. Okay, so now we have this bash, right? Docker file. Now we have bash. So this will work fine. The Tomcat started. Summary. Entry point is runtime command. Run is build time command. Run will be executed at the time of build. So this is not helpful here. We want to keep the command inside the image and run that at the time of creating the container. So if you want to, very simple. See, after container is created from your image, if you want to run something, put that in entry point. It can be anything. So once this container is created, right? Once this container is created, you want to run some things in that container, maybe some configurations or something you want to set up. Put that as entry point command, and that will be automatically called. So entry point is runtime command. Why that bash there? If the bash is not running in the container will go down. So in this container, bash should be always running. Okay, bash should be always running in the container. Assume that you give something like this, bin bash. This won't work because this is ignored. If entry point is there, this will be ignored. So in entry point only, we have to call bash. So I'm running two commands. One is Tomcat server start. Second one is, bash means you are running bash. Bash is always running. So container will be running. If this ampersand bash is not there, then what will happen? Container will be automatically down. It will go down automatically. That's about this. Entry point. And then bash. Clear with that? I need another, maybe 20 minutes, or it may go 30 minutes, 15 to 20, 30 minutes. It's already 10:30. Okay. Maybe in tomorrow's class, we'll complete Docker and then we'll start Kubernetes. Any questions you have for me today? So you all have to practice this. Okay. Very simple. Everything is there in Gamut Card 2. Clone it, build it, execute the same Docker file using Docker build command. Open the Docker file and read it, understand it, push that image, then call this butler script with the 10 containers, right? Hit individual containers and see if the application is running. Open this shell script and then understand what is there, and you are done. Any questions?
If we need to run one more script for anything else along with Tomcat server and bash, then using ampersand can we write that also? Yeah.
Yes. Just add another ampersand, and then command.
Okay.
Yeah. For example, you want to start in Nginx and Tomcat both.
Yeah.
You can give that again. One more ampersand. So starting from Git, Maven, starting from Git to Maven to Docker. So finally, you are able to set up the environment with all automations in place. Fine. I think that's all I have from my side today. I'm thinking to have a session tomorrow, day after tomorrow, or at least one day. I don't know whether I'll be able to take it or not, but if I'm taking, I'll definitely update maybe before 4 o'clock. Okay. Mostly I'll try to take. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, everybody. Good night.